Hey, what's up, Andy's leaders and all listeners? This is Travis. I am so thankful you are here. Welcome back to the Custard Campus podcast, the show where leadership, growth, and our world-famous frozen custard come together. This episode was planned even before we started this podcast. So to mark our 20th episode, we have a very special guest. Our guest, Katie Sterling. Katie and my friendship started many years ago. And as any operator out there knows, you better take care of your HR partners because they do a ton for you. I had a mentor tell me that early on. Make sure your HR team is your friend because they can make life a whole lot easier. Katie has done exactly that for me and so many others. A bit of my success is no small part due to her support, her wisdom, and the way she has always helped me bring clarity to situations that could easily gone sideways. Seriously, trust me there. I'm excited to have her on the podcast today to share some HR and leadership cheat codes that can help make leaders everywhere make their dreams come true. That's what we're all about. But before we fully jump in, Katie, I want our listeners to get a quick picture of who you are and what has shaped you, what pulled you into HR, and what your leadership style looks like most.
Wow. Thank you, Travis. I'm so happy to be on here today.
Welcome. I'm excited.
Yeah, great. Well, I've been at Andy's for 12 years now, which is crazy. We have seen so much growth and change since I started here with the company and even just personally within myself. When I began, we had less than 20 stores total. We had 10 of us at the office.
That's right.
Now we have over 50. It's been such an honor to see this company grow before my eyes and to get to be a small part of that. Like I said, I've personally grown up here. I started as an intern. I was hired on full time. I got married to my husband, which, by the way, we had our first date at Andy's.
Nice.
Welcomed my daughter and my son into the world over these years. So yeah, it's just been a part of my life, part of my story, and I'm just so honored to get to be here. As far as what pulled me into HR, I ironically never knew I was going to get into HR. Probably wasn't a little girl dreaming of being in HR,
Right.
but until I was in it and then I fell in love with it. All throughout college, I thought I was going to get into marketing. That
Oh,
was
wow.
what I thought I was going to do. Until my senior year, I started to take employment law classes and HR classes, and I just really enjoyed it. I had a professor that I really respected. She was an attorney, an employment attorney, and I just learned so much from her, and it was so fascinating. And she ended up recommending me for an internship at Andy's. And so that is how I got the job, and I've been here ever since. I've had my Society of HR Management certification for over 10 years now. That involves passing a test, and it requires ongoing learning in my field. So I feel like I'm all in. I'm all in on the HR world for sure. And then your last question, what shaped my leadership style the most? I would say it's been the leaders I've been honored to work with at Andy's. I've been so fortunate to get to work side by side with Andy, Dana, Carol, and they have instilled in me to value those who work hard and have a strong dedication to this company. I'm proud to work with a team of wonderful women in HR who represent our department and have a combined 35 years of experience with this company. And the average tenure of our department is 6 years. So what an amazing team I get to work with every day who are all in with Andy's, love this company, and you can't always find that. So I just feel so grateful and lucky. I'm not a micromanager, and I'm just so grateful that I have this team that I trust to work with. I'd be absolutely lost without them.
I can attest. I get to sit by a few members of your team, and it is a pleasure, and you guys have an amazing working relationship, and you guys get stuff done. So it's a great atmosphere around here in the HR side.
We do. It's a good balance.
Yeah. You know, this is something that comes up a lot. What's something people assume about HR that's totally wrong? Because people have a lot of assumptions.
Oh, yeah, they do. So I would say I probably have like a couple things that are probably the most common. The first one would be HR exists only to protect the company, not the
Right.
employees. I feel like that's the TikTok headline that you see. That's the thing people talk about. And sure, part of HR's job is to protect the company, but HR doesn't ignore employee concerns. They take that
Hmm.
seriously. We have to protect the organization by ensuring fair and legal treatment of employees, but this often means helping employees resolve issues, preventing discrimination, and enforcing workplace policies. We don't want the reputation of being an employer that doesn't do those things. And so it's our due diligence to make sure that our employees have a good working environment, and that in turn helps the company. Both are symbiotic together.
Yeah, just a fair balance. That makes a ton of sense.
And then I'd say the second one is if HR is involved, someone will get fired. I feel like that's another common one. That's kind of the joke, that's the office joke, like, uh-oh, HR's coming. What's going to happen? But I think that's just obviously not true. I mean,
Right.
HR, helps to resolve problems in other ways other than termination. We help to prevent termination in some scenarios. We want to realign people. We want people to be the best employees they can be. We don't want turnover. And so I think that, that's just something that's a complete misunderstanding.
It totally is. I'm guilty of it. I mean, as an operator, new, young, I didn't really kind of understand. It was scary. And
Sure.
so you kind of build that blank space in your mind if you don't know much about HR with maybe some negativity. So I'm glad we're able to shine some light on that today for our listeners.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
what do you find are some underutilized supports HR provides that you wish all managers took advantage of?
Sure. Well, kind of piggybacking on what I just said. So I think a lot of managers assume HR only gets involved during discipline or termination. And honestly, sometimes after the fact, it's already happened and it's like, hey, FYI, this happened. HR wants to be a part of the process proactively. We want to work with you on coaching, mediation, and conflict resolution to prevent problems from escalating. The earlier the coordination with HR, the better. We want you as managers to be able to problem solve on your own. But when things start to get too complicated, that is where we need to step in as HR. I would say some big buzzwords that you might hear that are definitely should be ringing a bell in your mind of, ooh, I need to get HR involved, or harassment, discrimination, retaliation, and anything medically related. Those are definitely things HR needs to be involved in, among others. But those four, I would say, are the biggest topics that are definitely something that we need to be involved in. And we're happy to be involved in smaller issues as well. We are here for whatever you need. And I get so many managers that apologize after calling me. This is literally what I'm here to do. I'm so sorry to bother you. It's like, this is why I'm here. This is what I'm here for. We want to help you develop your confidence in handling these situations on your own. But like I said, I'm always here to assist when you get stuck.
So, leaders out there, that's your cheat code, right? There's so much value to HR. Just be okay with making a phone call or shooting an email over. They want to talk to you. That's so cool. Katie, if you had to explain the purpose of HR at Andy's to like a brand new crew member, what would you say HR exists to protect and to enable?
Sure. So I'm going to kind of keep it brief, but I think HR exists to protect employees in the workplace and keep our core values alive in the store. That sounds simple, but it's not. And then I would say HR enables managers to be a part of that process of protecting their fort, as Andy would say, and ensuring that everyone is being treated well.
Yeah, that's amazing. What does winning look like for HR this year?
Sure. So for our department, I think if we can create a process that saves time or makes something easier for our employees and managers, that's a win right there. We really work on continuing to digitize our processes to help support this. We just want to never have the things that we do or we ask our managers to do to be too burdensome. I get it's extra work and that's part of what you have, built in time for as managers, but we want to make that as easy and streamlined for everyone as possible. And then just overall for our company, if we can successfully realign employees, that is always a win too. The lower we can keep our turnover with the right people, the better. I mean, that being said, if we have the wrong people and we can't realign those people, then we need to exit those people. But I think just really honing in on cultivating these teams across
Mhm.
all of our markets and making sure we have the right group of people and helping to be a part of that process is definitely, winning for HR.
That's that's huge, everyone. Because when HR is at its best, it's not just fixing problems. It's helping create an environment where people and the business are really thriving. That's huge. Katie, when performance or behavior has to be addressed, though, like you're saying, what does fair and firm leadership actually look like? And what are some of the most common mistakes some of us managers make?
Sure. So I think some common mistakes include apologizing for having to have the conversation. We talk about that a lot in our trainings, but sitting down and saying, "I'm so sorry I have to give you this write up," or "I'm so sorry we have to have this conversation." That's definitely a big mistake. I think that you need to own the decisions that we're making as a company, and you need to make sure that you are aligned with that, and that you display, firm leadership in those moments. I also think that making sure addressing the facts at hand and not getting too emotional or bringing up things that are hearsay. I think that when you sit down with somebody, you need to make sure that you're presenting them with the facts at hand and you're not getting into the gossip, you're not getting into the weeds with things like that. You need to make sure that you're being fair in what you're presenting and also coming across as unbiased. If you're in the middle of an investigation or you're trying to understand why an employee is behaving a certain way, then you need to be able to make sure that you aren't already coming into it with a conclusion before you've heard their side.
That makes a lot of sense. With all that, what should a manager document during this process?
Sure. So I would say really any conversation regarding performance or behavior needs
Okay,
to be documented. And by that, I don't necessarily mean an EQR or write up. I mean, shooting HR an email over saying, "Hey, I had to sit down with Travis today and have this conversation. Just wanted to let you know."
nice.
Even just a quick little note to me, I think any and all conversations that are had regarding performance or behavior are relevant for us to know about.
That makes sense. That's good. You mentioned not apologizing, and I know a lot of us are might be timid or scared going into these type of conversations because we just don't know how to start. What's the best first sentence to start that tough conversation?
Sure. Yeah, it's intimidating to have to address your employees, especially if you're new at it. It's
Hmm.
not something you're used to doing. I think it's a muscle. The more you do it, the easier it is. And I think a great way to start that would be saying, once you pull them into the office, "I want to talk through something with you and get your perspective on it." This lets the employee know up front that you want the chance to understand how they interpret the situation and how they're feeling. And it's going to lower defensiveness. And anytime we can lower defensiveness, the more real information we're going to get, right? When you're defensive, you're highly emotional. You might be rambling. You might be bringing in topics that aren't even relevant. But if we can reduce defensiveness and just have it be a real conversation, I think the more genuine that's going to be and the better outcomes that we'll have from that.
That right there is practical gold. Listeners, take that, write that down. That's really good. Thank you, Katie. Termination, tough conversations, ethics, big word there. How are you able to help sort through these topics and come out on the other end with the right decision for the employee and the company? Because I know that's what you've been talking about. You're playing both sides fairly.
Sure. Yeah, it's tricky, and I always say HR is almost never cut and dry. There is so much gray area and there isn't always a clear right or wrong answer. There's so many situations where you can go either way and you have to analyze the facts that you have in front of you, trust the judgment of those around you, ones that witness the situation, managers that are involved, and then make the best call you can with the information supplied. It is really easy to get personally invested with those you work with daily.
Right.
And we really have to separate that, right? You can have a great working relationship with somebody without being too personally invested to where if something had to happen, you need to be able to do it, right?
Right.
You need to be able to write somebody up, to terminate somebody in the worst case scenario, regardless of your personal investment with that person. So it's natural and normal to let your emotions take over when you're trying to wade through these difficult situations. However, you have to do your best to think through the situation logically.
Well, through all that, I know you've been in a lot of situations. Have you ever disagreed with the decision the company has made regarding employees? And if so, how did you cope with that?
Sure. I think everyone has moments where they don't agree with the decision the company they work for has made. I know I've been a part of situations that truly could go either way, like I said. I know I've asked managers of this company to terminate employees who they did not want to fire. That difference of opinion is okay though. That's not a problem. We're all entitled to that. However, the key is how you handle it moving forward. We are all entrusted by Andy and Dana to do what is best for this company, and sometimes that doesn't always mean the same thing. Realizing that there is a bigger picture that you might not understand or that someone else might have a different perspective on what they think is best for the company is key. So just having that realization, accepting it and moving forward is really the best way we can handle that.
That's amazing, Katie. That's such a real leadership space because not every decision feels easy, clean, or emotionally simple. And I think leaders, all of you, need to hear how to think through those moments with maturity and with support of HR,
Mhm.
because it really does make it simpler. It's not always easy, but I mean, it can help.
Sure.
That's great. Where do you see managers in the field make the biggest positive difference in people's lives? And where do they accidentally create turnover?
Sure. I think the biggest positive difference managers make is to identify and recognize their employees' strengths and weaknesses. And in light of that, put their employees in the best position to succeed. And you have to take the time to do that. You have to take the time to know every employee, to know the 16-year-olds, to understand what their strengths and weaknesses are, and putting them, the aces in their places, as we
That's
say,
right.
right? And so you have to then push your employees to do better. If you have that shy employee that's scared to do the walk up, you need to help encourage that person to be able to do that, right? And they might not be able to do it at first, but I think honing in on those strengths and weaknesses and helping to develop people is going to make such a huge difference in your employees' lives. And for many of these people, it's their first job. And so to be able to develop all these skills in your first job is just incredible. So definitely something to think about. And where do they accidentally create turnover? That would be, in my opinion, when managers allow or create a toxic work environment to
Oh,
grow.
yeah.
Sometimes the GM is a part of it. Getting too friendly with your employees, acting more like a friend versus a boss makes it really difficult to properly manage your employees. The toxicity makes the good employees either quit or start slipping into employees that are no longer aligned with the company's goals. It's just really, I've seen so many stores that have what seems like irreparable damage from a culture that's been created, and it just feels so broken. And so it's just so important to not let yourself go to that place and really to maintain that professionalism.
That's huge. Leaders, listen to that. You control that culture. It really stems at the top of the store. You're a big part of that. Katie, what's one small habit that separates the greatest leaders from the average leaders?
I would say leaders who give their teams ownership, help them be a part of decision making that you can allow them to be a part of, and celebrate their successes. Those people tend to be the best leaders. No one wants a leader who takes all the credit or doesn't celebrate their teams. And I think that if you can create a fun environment and celebrate every win that your employees have, I think we've mentioned before, if you have an employee that's late, you have to write them up and have a tough conversation with them. The next time they show up on time, recognize that, point that out, and be like, hey, I see that you're here on time. I appreciate that. Those little things are going to help make a great team.
That's right. I love this whole interview so far, Katie, and the interviews that we continue to have, because it always brings back the entire conversation to the day to day. Get all of us at the home office or above store leadership, whatever that looks like, we're all focused in and taking care of our team and our guests and our product, those three C's constantly. Leadership isn't only about the biggest of decisions, right? A lot of it's in the small habits, the repeated conversations, in the tone we create on every shift. And HR is helping set that tone. Before we end, Katie, I always ask, and you know what? I don't know this. On most interviews, I kind of know their favorite treat, but I don't know yours. So what's your favorite treat, Katie?
I would probably say a chocolate shake.
A
A
chocolate.
chocolate
Oh,
shake. I
wow.
love a chocolate shake.
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to eat on the go. I've got 2 young kids, so I can kinda sip on that for a while, and it's so good. I
Okay.
love it.
I'm
Love
going to
the
have
chocolate.
to ask more in the HR department, because I know Alex, after watching her video multiple times on interviewing, is a chocolate peanut butter shake.
Oh,
So it's like, okay, is there a thing in the HR world where it's a shake?
the shake.
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe, maybe. I need to try the peanut butter in there. I haven't done that
it
before,
does
but
sound good.
I would say my favorite seasonal is probably a cookie Casanova.
Okay. We
So,
just came out of season. So
yeah,
did you have your fair share?
yeah,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I'd say I did. Yeah.
That's so good. Again, Katie, thank you so much. Seriously, thank you for coming on and sharing your wisdom with our listeners. I think this episode is going to help out a lot of leaders out there, because HR can sometimes feel intimidating, complicated, or even distant. And really, it should be one of the strongest support system a leader has. And it is. You just have to be willing to communicate. And today, you gave us some real cheat codes on how to think better, lead better, and navigate people situations with more fairness, confidence, and definitely maturity. If you could do one thing today, do this. Take one idea from Katie and use it on your very next shift. Whether that's documenting better, having a tough conversation sooner, or simply leaning into your HR partners more than you ever had before. All right. My goal is that you learn something today and that you can use it to get closer to making your dreams come true. I'm here to serve everyone, not change anything, just support great leadership and decision making. Keep engaging and share the content. That's it for today. If you need anything, email me at travis@edamies.com. Here we go. Leadership is portion control for chaos, the right amount at the right time, every time. Go win the day.